Yo, what is going on, everybody? I'm Luke here. Welcome to the Phillies-Mets Vidcast. Today, I'm joined by the Supreme League. He is a Mets fan, and he loves baseball. So, the Supreme League, would you like to say hi?
Hi, I'm the Supreme League, and today I'm joining the Phillies Hot Stove Videocast on his channel to make a YouTube video about stuff like the All-Star Game and the Phillies versus the Mets and who's buyers and who's sellers and all that sort of stuff about baseball.
That is right. Now, like I said, the Supreme League is a Mets fan, and he loves his New York Mets, and he's kind of a little bit disappointed about how his Mets are playing this year. How do you feel about him?
I'm definitely disappointed in him. I do feel like quite a few guys have been underperforming, and it's very frustrating because if they had the players as good as they were last season, they'd be really good. But that's just not how baseball works. And once again, they've gotten really unlucky with trades and signings. And once again, they fall at the bottom of the standings.
That is true. Now, the Mets manager, Mickey Callaway, having a very, very bad relationship with the New York media, saying some profane language, and it seems that he seems very, very. The Supreme League and I have talked about this a lot. Mickey Callaway seems to me as a very, very soft manager, and he doesn't really seem to have a good grip on the clubhouse. How do you feel about that? Do you agree with me on that?
I do. He's terrible. I think he's been misusing the pitching and the bullpen, and I just think he takes out pitchers too early, and that's a bad thing when you have a bad bullpen. Like, you can't do that, and I definitely think he should have been fired as soon as he used the profane language in that interview.
That is true. The Mets players, even as Jason Vargas, he said, quote, to a reporter, he said, quote, "I'll knock you the F out, bro," which is a horrible thing to say to a reporter. And the Mets, apparently, I read a report the other day that they were so mad at him that they had thoughts about trading him before the July 31st deadline. Obviously, there will be no more waivered trades anymore. Now it's all going to be before July 1st. So they got rid of the August waivered trades. I don't know if you remember that. They used to be able to trade in August. They got rid of that. So this is really going to affect the trading goes on. Obviously, we're going to see a lot of trades within the next 2 to 3 weeks here coming up to the trading deadline. So let's start by looking ahead at this Mets and Phillies series. So obviously I'm rooting for the Phillies, and obviously the Supreme League will be rooting for the Mets. It'll be Vin Velasquez on the mound game 1, 2 and 5 with a 4.73 ERA. He has really, really struggled this year. Big time. He actually hit a home run his last start, but I don't care if he hits a home run. We do not care about when Vin Velasquez is at the plate. We care about what he does on the mound. Obviously for the Mets, it'll be Jacob deGrom. He won the Cy Young last year, but he has not had the season that he had last year. He's 4-7 at 3.32 ERA. He's an all-star this year, but it wasn't as good as he is. Isn't as good as he was last year, but he's still a very good pitcher. Game 2 will be Thor for the Mets. Noah Syndergaard. He's 5-4. He has struggled this year. He actually has a higher ERA than Jake Arrieta, 4.56 ERA for Thor. And for the Phils, it'll be Arrieta 8-6 at a 4.43 ERA. He has been decent his last couple starts. So we've seen this with Arrieta. This has been a common theme for him that he seems to have a couple good starts and then he kind of falls back into how he usually is. So I don't know what to expect out of him. You never know what you're going to expect out of this Phillies pitching. Game 3, finale game on Sunday, the last game of the first half of the season. 1:10, the first pitch. It will be Zach Wheeler for New York. He is 6-5 with a 4.42 ERA. It'll be Aaron Nola for the Phils. He's 7-2 with a 3.89 ERA. He has been fantastic his last 3 starts. So I am hoping that the Phillies can win the series. But what I think is going to happen, I think the Phillies will lose tonight and then win the next 2 games. The Supreme League, how do you feel?
Like about the series?
Yes. How do you feel about the series? What do you think is going to be the outcome?
Well, I'm going to be confident in my team and say they can win 2 out of 3.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, man.
Win with deGrom, but I'm not sure whether they'll win with Wheeler or Syndergaard because both have been inconsistent, and you never know what to expect. But I definitely am hoping to see some home runs from Alonso and some hits from McNeil. and hopefully that the bullpen just does not blow this game.
Yeah, well, he's definitely right because the Phillies have been both Mets and Phillies have been playing terrible baseball. I don't want to make the Supreme League feel bad, but I'm just saying that the Mets have been playing worse baseball than the Phillies, but the Phillies haven't been doing good either. So the Mets could very easily take 2 out of 3, or it could go the other way. So I don't really know what to expect out of the series. The Phillies have just been absolutely playing terrible baseball. So have the New York Mets. So I'm not too sure how it's all going to work out. But like the Supreme League said, you could go either way. And like he said, Pete Alonso, he could hit a couple home runs, and he's going to be in the home run derby. So we'll see. We're going to be seeing a lot of fireworks maybe this series. Let's talk about the trade deadline coming up. There's some big names that could be moved before the deadline. We thought about Anthony Rendon, but it doesn't really seem like he's going to be moved now. I don't think Mike Rizzo is going to want to move him now because of because they're kind of in second place now, so they're kind of like making a wild card push now. So how do you feel about the chances of Mike Rizzo moving Anthony Rendon?
I don't think he's moving Rendon. I think Rendon's going to stay national for now.
Yeah, I definitely agree. He might walk in free agency, but I don't think that Mike Rizzo would want to move him. So, how do you feel about Madison Bumgarner, Mike Minor, and Matthew Boyd possibly getting moved?
I understand why they get moved since they're all on bad teams, and I think the Giants definitely have waited quite a while to trade Bumgarner because they've just been terrible for the past 3 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have.
But I think it also can be hard to trade him since he does get injured quite a bit.
Yeah. I where do you think he's going to end up? I do not think he ends up in Philly.
Maybe I haven't heard many rumors, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Yankees pursued him because they seem to be all in on pitchers, and I hate the Yankees, but they want, but like. Cashman gets what he wants.
Yeah, he does, man. Cashman, as much as I know the Supreme League hates Brian Cashman, he hates the New York Yankees organization, but I'm sure you have to admit that Brian Cashman is a very, very smart GM. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian Cashman's a very, very good GM. Obviously, Hal Steinbrenner has to stay in that as well. So I do think the Yankees will be big players for one of those 3 men. So let's talk about how the Mets will do in the second half. How do you think they're going to do?
Well, they might. I don't know. I think they might actually improve. I remember last year some guys just suddenly did better in the second half, but I think it probably is pretty much too late, even if they do improve, to really make a push at the playoffs in the second half.
Uh-huh. All right, so here's my take on it. I do think the Mets, obviously they had a really, really good August and September in 2018. They were a dumpster fire in June last year, and they were this year. So I don't know really what to expect out of the New York Mets. I mean, I guess you just don't really know what you're going to expect. They could be getting better. They could be, maybe not as good. They might get even worse. I don't know. I don't know how you could get worse than this. The Mets have been one of the worst teams in baseball in June. So I don't really know what to expect. Maybe the bullpen gets better. Familia is hurt right now. Luga is kind of. He's back now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's back? Okay. Sorry about that, guys. He was hurt, though, right? I thought he was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Familia obviously is back. He could have a rebound second half. He's been absolutely horrendous in the first half. So, that's key for the Mets. Their bullpen has been not as they expected this year. The Mets made some moves, but it seems like they've made all the wrong moves. Ramos has been a disaster. Cano hasn't worked out. Diaz has been not good at all. They brought Familia back. That has not worked out at all. He's been terrible. All right, this is like a really, really big thing for me. When the Mets traded for Robinson Cano, it just didn't make any sense to me. He has 5 years, 110 left. He's 36 years old. He's getting paid like $20-some million a year for the next 5 years. What are they doing? Can you please elaborate on that? What? So I know the Supreme League is not very fond of the whole Robinson Cano situation, but how do you feel about the Robinson Cano situation?
It was a disaster, and I think, not Callaway, but Van Wagenen, he did it because I don't think he knew how good Cano not Cano, McNeil or Alonso would be. He didn't really know what to expect of him, so he thought, well, I have to get a second baseman if we want to contend next year. But in reality, he really didn't need one with McNeil and Alonso, and the hitting wasn't the problem like he thought it would be.
That is true. And the thing is that it's not like you could say, oh, next year he's going to get better. The guy, he just keeps getting older and older. I mean, he's going to be 37 next year, and you're stuck with the guy. He still is, at next year, he's going to still have 4 years left on his contract. I mean, like, I just don't get it from the Mets' perspective. I mean, it's a disaster. They're still going to have to pay him all this boatload of money until he's like 40 years old. Is there a reason for concern here, the Supreme League?
Yeah, it is very concerning, because they basically are giving money to a bad player, and that's just a waste.
I know. And the thing is you can't trade him. No one's going to want him. And then if you cut him from the team, you still got to pay him all that money. It's all guaranteed. No one's going to want to pick up that contract. So I just don't get it from the Mets, from the Phillies' perspective. This guy's a Mets fan. He still doesn't get it. So from the Mets and Phillies' perspective, we do not understand that trade at all. So Phillies second half. The Phillies were a dumpster fire in the second half of the season last year. I don't even know what the Phillies anymore, guys. I just talked about this in my other video. I'm losing faith in the Phillies. If you take away that 4-game sweep of the Mets they had, like last week, I believe it was, they have been a horrendous baseball team. They can't even beat the Miami Marlins. The Washington Nationals have been playing tremendous baseball lately. They have been a very, very good baseball team. Start of June 1st. The Phillies have been terrible. They have been the opposite from June 1st. So the Phillies in the second half, I do not think they're going to make the playoffs, really. I mean, they could make a push for wild card. They are not winning this division. The Braves are going to win the division. It pains me to say that, but I do think that's what is going to end up happening. The Braves will repeat as NL East champions. The Braves are a better team than the Phillies. They have a better young core, and Acuna's younger. They have a very young core. Much as it pains me to say it, guys. It pains me to say it because I want the Phillies to win so badly, but you got to give credit where credit is due, and the Braves deserve a lot of credit because they're a very, very good baseball team. They have a fantastic first baseman. They have a great young outfielder, Austin Riley, whether that's, even Ozzie Albies. I understand he's a bit overrated in my opinion. I still think he has a ton of potential. Ronald Acuna Jr. I know I say that Josh Donaldson's washed up a lot, but he still is a decent player. Even though Brian McCann's washed up, that's still a very, very, very good veteran leader in the clubhouse. So, listen, we both, the Supreme League and I, since we're Mets and Phillies fans, we despise the Braves. But you guys, we have to admit that the Braves are a very good baseball team. Can we not?
Yeah, it's sad but true. I mean, they're great. You have to admit that they're a great team.
They are.
Seems like they really have good people running the team.
They do. They always have. They've had very good scouting.
They seem to be always good all the time. Like, you got to get the feeling that, unlike the Wilpons, the Braves have good people running them.
That is true. Now, on the Washington Nationals, on the other hand, they start off the season playing terrible baseball. They lost Bryce Harper in free agency. Mike Rizzo, had to make a few harsh decisions, and they obviously have Juan Soto. They have Victor Robles. Now, I could tolerate the Nationals a bit more. My favorite player in the Nationals is by far Anthony Rendon. He's an MVP candidate. That guy's awesome. He absolutely rakes. They have Trey Turner over there. They have Matt Adams, Ryan Zimmerman, Juan Soto, as I said. Victor Robles is having a down year, but he's still Victor Robles. He could still produce a high level. He has the potential to, at least. They have Adam Eaton in right field. And do you think that Mike Rizzo's done a good job putting that team together? Obviously, I know that they have, been a very, very good baseball team from June on, but they have been playing some easy teams to beat, like the Miami Marlins. A lot of bad teams they've been playing. So, do you think this is just temporary for the Nats, or do you think they're just going to keep playing well in the second half of the season?
If they've been playing a lot of bad teams, I'm not fully convinced that they're going to make the playoffs. But when you look at the standings, I definitely think the Cubs and Brewers are both better teams. And I think they'd make it over them in the wild card, but they could definitely be the second wild card. But there's still also competition with the Rockies and the NL West.
Yeah, they're not out of it.
And even if they're good, I definitely feel like the Dodgers are just over the top compared to the rest of the league.
Sure.
So even if they do get in, I don't really think it's necessarily a big deal for the Nationals to get in the playoffs this year.
Now, do you think? Now, I'm going to give my take on it first. I do. I think it's 50-50 if Phillies make the playoffs. If they do make the playoffs, it's going to be through a wild card spot. Do you think that the Phillies will make the playoffs?
It's really hard to say because they're really unpredictable, and there's definitely a lot of teams that are around the same level, like the Phillies, the Nationals, and the Cardinals and the Rockies, and even like the Reds and Pirates are still in it. So, to be honest, I definitely think with all these teams close together, it's really too early to tell. But I definitely think if their pitching keeps struggling, I don't think that they will.
That is true. That is true. So,
but if they get it together, yeah.
So
that's what it's going to come down to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good. It's going to be crazy. The Phillies are not going to win the World Series. It's pretty clear. They're not winning the World Series. Agree?
Yeah, but just because you're not the highest ranked in the playoffs doesn't mean you're not going to win the World Series because, you never really know what's going to happen in the playoffs.
Crazy things happen. That is true.
So I always think in the playoffs in baseball, of all sports, I feel like anything can happen, and suddenly you see guys who were not super great in the regular season just do super well in the postseason.
That is true. That is true. Then before we wrap it up, let's look at who do you think is going to win the home run derby this year? I'm going with Pete Alonso.
So am I. Just with all those 400-foot home runs, I think that's really going to help because you get extra points for 440-foot home runs.
Mm. Well, guys, I think we just made history. A Mets and Phillies fan, we both agreed on one thing. And listen, I don't like the Mets at all, but I do think that Pete Alonso has a very good chance at winning the home run derby. As the Supreme League just said, he has over 400-foot home runs, like multiple of them this year. So he's a very, very good player, and he deserves to make the All-Star game. And obviously, fan voting in the All-Star game. How do you feel before we we're going to talk about the MVP stuff and all that, but we're just going to talk a little about fan voting real quick, just a quick segment. I think fan voting is utter ridiculous. I mean, even with fan voting, they didn't even vote in Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil, Anthony Rendon, players that deserve to make the All-Star game. How do you feel about that?
Fan voting has got to go. I mean, fans are just picking favorites that they like, and it tells me that Josh Donaldson probably was a popular player because he won that MVP a few years back, but he's not that MVP player anymore, and he totally did not deserve an All-Star nod.
Absolutely, I agree. Same with Brian McCann. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
He used to be good, but not anymore.
Totally true. Totally true. Now, moving on from that, to wrap this thing up, this is going to be our last thing we're going to talk about. Who do you see winning the NL MVP this year? Is it going to be Yelich, Bellinger?
I think I'm going to give it... Right now, I'm going to give it to Yelich.
Wow.
Because he's stealing a lot of bases, and he's hitting all these home runs, and based on how many he has now, he has a shot at reaching 60.
That would be a big accomplishment.
But so does Bellinger with 30 home runs.
Yeah, I'm personally, I would rather see Bellinger win the MVP just because I don't really like the Dodgers, but I do kind of like Cody Bellinger. He's kind of a cool guy.
Yeah, I like both.
Yeah, I like Bellinger. I'm not a big Yelich guy. Yelich is a very, very good player, but I don't really... Something about him I just don't like. He's a very, very good player, though. I'm not taking that away from him. And I don't want to see players repeat NL MVP. I'd like to see a different player win. Who do you see winning the AL MVP?
Oh, I was also, before we go to the AL MVP, I was going to say that I also think the Dodgers ace, Ryu, could also win the NL MVP.
That is true. He's a dark horse.
Yeah. For AL MVP, though, I gotta still give it to Trout.
Yeah, that is true. He's Trout. Like, he's Mike Trout. He's a machine. Every year he puts up I talked about this yesterday, guys. If you haven't watched it yet, I made a video that's called "Is Bryce Harper Overrated?" We went deep into the stats, and I'm not going to say what I said, what the outcome was. So if you want to go see if you want to hear what I said about Bryce Harper overrated, go check out the video. Link in the description below. But answering his question, basing off of that, Mike Trout puts up. I talked about this yesterday. I compared Trout and Harper. Obviously, Trout's a way better player than Mike Trout. Mike Trout's a way better player than Harper statistically. Trout just puts up fantastic numbers every single season, and that's just who Mike Trout is. He's a machine. So I definitely agree with you that Mike Trout has probably the best chance of winning the AL MVP. So Supreme League, thank you so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate you coming on. So
yeah, you're welcome.
Yes. So thank you guys so much for watching the Phillies-Mets the Vidcast. I am Luke, and I was joined by the Supreme League, as I just said. So tonight is to be Finn Velasquez going on the mound against Jacob deGrom. Hopefully you guys all watch it. Thank you all for watching, guys. Please smash the like button on this video. Please tell your friends about this video. Subscribe if you haven't yet. I am Luke, and this is the Supreme League here. So thank you guys so much for watching. Bye-bye.